We're just about to start. I've moved my messages around, which could be a big mistake, to be honest. Because I keep missing the Reach on Air messages when we're doing the Tuesday night thing. But anyway, fingers crossed that'll be a bit better now. I've put them over there so they flash up right in front of me. They are the most important ones, you see. Right. Ready? Do-do-do. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Chris Reardon, Tuesday night, Reach on Air.
Well, that was a good start. I've done that the wrong way round. Sorry, let's try that again, shall we? Let's try that again. Evening, gang, and welcome to Tuesday night here at Reach on Air.
Chris Reardon, Tuesday night, Reach on Air.
I hope that's not going to be how the whole show is, like a complete disaster like it normally is. Well, a very good evening to everyone. Thank you to our lovely lady who was on before me this evening here on Reach on Air, and Dave Squires, of course, up with you at 11 o'clock. Good evening. How are you in these last, what have we got, like the last just under 3 hours left of February here in the UK, probably where La Belle is. You've got a bit longer there, haven't you? I don't know, 7 hours or something like that. It's been a mix today of sort of grey weather, a little bit of sunshine, a little bit of cloud, no rain. My Auntie Brenda, who lives in Tring, which is only about a 50-minute drive from here, at a reasonable speed, not 70, sort of 60 mile an hour from here all the way. She said it was raining there. She's always really surprised when I tell her, no, it's no rain here. Really, she says. Really, it hasn't been raining, no. Well, I don't know why sort of people think the weather should be the same over the whole of the globe or anything like that. Anyway, so that's what it's like being there today. I don't know what it's like where you are. Let's say some of you early people. Good evening to Gary Ross. He's already texted in this evening. Good evening to you, Gary. All right, darling, welcome along to the show in the Ulster television area. You got a mention this morning, actually, Gary. Yes, you did, because I now have the ITV ident for the Ulster television area, which I can't play on this particular show due to copyright reasons. But yes, we've got the Ulster one, and we've got the Tyne-Tees one now as well. It's all very exciting. That's the show I do in the morning, okay, if you don't know about that. It's a little radio show I do every morning here on Reach on Air between 9 and 10 o'clock, Monday to Friday. It's chat and generally dance music, usually throw in a couple of soul numbers somewhere. And that's what we do every morning, 9 till 10 o'clock here at Reach on Air, Monday to Friday. Okay, let's say good evening to... I've moved my messages around here as well, so it should be easier for me to see them. Except not so easy today, because I've just moved them around. So instead of looking there, I've got to look there. If you see what I mean. Do you know what I mean? Anyway. Good evening to Vera from Vera's Choice in the morning. She's with us. She's with us every morning. Vera from Vera's Choice in the morning, boys and girls. Yeah, baby.
Vera's Choice in the morning.
Oh, she's there.
Reach on Air.
Evening to you, Vera. We have LaBelle listening in New York, watching in New York. Good evening to you, LaBelle. Tom's there. Howdy, partner Tom. Tom's not been very well. He's in charge of the swimming pool. I don't think there's anyone else in charge of Tom, to be honest. He's like in charge of the swimming pool. So good evening to you, Dan Woodhouse as well. There, it's 2 minutes past 4 in New York, so you've got about another 8 hours to go there. And hello to Johnny Paul in the Cameroon. Are you really? A very good friend of mine in the Cameroon. I haven't seen him for years now. He used to come to one of the karaoke's, Belushi's. Let me just turn a light out here. I've just realised. Oh, there we are. Turn the light out there. Yes, he used to come along to Belushi's in London Bridge and sing at our karaoke there. I'm just trying to think. I can't remember his name now, actually. Hey, he's a very good singer as well. So good evening to you, Johnny Paul from the Cameroon there. Over on YouTube, we've got lots of people there. Mandy Davenport, Mick Davenport, Weird City, evening to you. I'm glad you were standing by. No need to stand by anymore because we're here. All right. Oh, is that everyone? Hang on a minute. They're just chatting away to each other, so that's good. Yeah, I think it is. And Dan Woodhouse as well. I think I mentioned him as well on the show tonight. Fran Greenin. Good evening, Fran. And there's our Maureen. Good evening to Maureen. I don't know if you heard the news, Maureen, but Steve Allen has gone from LBC. It was all very sudden. 44 years he was there. Terrible. I tried to actually... Maureen sent me... Now, where is it? Here it is. Maureen sent me a lovely tea towel. A Steve Allen LBC tea towel, which I ironed tonight to put up. And I've since realised... 1 second, you'll be able to see Maureen, won't it? I've since realised that actually I've got to move stuff around to get it up there, so I can't put that up. I intended fully to put that up on there tonight, but I can't do it because there's other stuff in the way. So thanks for that, Maureen. Yes, Steve Allen, I don't know if you know him, boys and girls. We talked about this on the radio show. I think it was on Friday morning. Has gone from LBC. He was there 44 years. I really liked him. There were other people who thought he was a bit antiquated and out of date because of some of the comments he made, because basically they're not intelligent enough to realise it's a bit of a leg pull. Do you know what I mean? Those woke lefty lot, you know, they just don't get humour. They're not intelligent enough to get the humour that you and I get, where people say stuff but they don't really mean it. It's just a little bit of a laugh. They don't get that at all, right? So he's either been pushed from there, or I think there's a chance that he might have something wrong with him. I don't know. But it's a very sad state of affairs, really. I checked the LBC Presenters page website on Saturday night. I thought, well, let's just see if he's still there. Nope, he's gone straight away. Couldn't wait to take him off. Shocking. Shocking. As I say, I used to listen to him a lot when I was driving home, actually, late at night. When I was DJing at a place called the Black Cap in Camden, I'd be driving sort of between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., somewhere between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., because I used to go out afterwards. Oh, yeah, believe me, about 15 years ago, I used to go out afterwards, different places, right? And I could be driving home at like, I don't know, 5 in the morning, and me and my mate Danny would have him on in the car. And I find him highly entertaining. He laid into some people. He clearly didn't like some people. But, you know, it's all very well saying, oh, you can't say, well, do you want free speech or not? Make your mind up. You know, terrible. Anyway, he's gone. I like to think that he might get a job on Talk Radio. I think he'd fit in very well there. Talk Radio, or which is, of course, Talk TV as well, or something like that maybe. But I can't honestly see him wanting to give that up. He's kind of in a job like me where we don't look forward to retirement. Steve Allen has always said on his radio show that the industry that he works in, and me, to different degrees, right? We are in an industry that retires us. We generally don't leave somewhere unless we're really, really fed up there. I mean, it just doesn't happen. What happens is people, eventually they get fed up with you. You know, and it's all very well saying, oh, how can anyone get fed up with you? It happens. I know people that used to come up to me when I told them this story 20, 30 years ago. I would tell them this story, nah, we'll never get fed up with you, Chris. And suddenly they disappear and they've gone elsewhere. So they've got fed up. That's just how it happens. That's life, you know. One day you won't be watching this, and don't say you will be, because you won't be. It's only people like Shania on the Isle of Wight that will be here week in, week out, won't you, darling? All right, Shania. So very, very sad news about Steve Allen, I think. I like to hope he'd come up somewhere else and do his thing, because I don't think he does much else in his life, to be honest. You know, that's his thing. Like sitting here is doing my thing, you know. The difference is I've got no one to answer to. Okay, the management at Reach on Air, if I said something really bad, you know, they'd cut me off, but I don't, do I, you know? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to say something, you know, specifically to upset people? Some people are out there looking to be upset. I'm always convinced of that. Loads of people there. Some people are, you know, to be upset. Evening to Fran Green. Evening to you. Evening to Mr. Mark Bowles. You only did one message, Mark. Sometimes it takes a little while to get to the message. Bit pushy tonight, dear. Pushy. There's a number of ways to contact us. So you can use the Reach on Air message system. Just send in something on there. Don't use the email. We don't really use the email anymore. Our very good friend Ross Patzelt sent a message on the email last week. And, of course, I wasn't looking at it, so I didn't see it. And it didn't get read out. I can't remember what it was to do with. But, yeah. So you can send a message on the Reach on Air message system. You can send us a message on TikTok. You can send us a message on YouTube. Or you can send us a message by text. Now, you won't hear the text number on TikTok because they cut us off. They think I'm giving out personal information. We don't do that. So the number, if you want to text in, is 07451 287 337. That's the text number, 07451 287 337. All right? And don't be shy to send in a text or any of those messages like that. All right? Anything of interest there? No, nothing of interest there. Right, let's kick off then. I was going to start today with, what do you think gets stolen most in supermarkets? Often wondered that. I would imagine it'd be something like alcohol. I reckon cigarettes as well. Cigarettes would be easy to nick from supermarkets if they weren't behind a shelf, which they are now, aren't they? They're not even just behind a shelf. They're like got shutters on them and everything, and you've got to order them to be opened, and they've got it at the co-op. I think they're supposed to keep these shutters closed all the time, but they don't in the co-op, do they? You know, they just leave them open all the time. But what do you think would be the most thing nicked from a supermarket? I'm convinced it would be alcohol. Now, when I say alcohol, I can't imagine anyone going out with those huge bottles of vodka, although I'm sure people have got ways of doing things. You know, now we're very lucky. We have a supermarket worker online tonight to discuss this terrible situation and the punishment that must be dished out to people who constantly steal from supermarkets and make our prices go up. We will need to send around Mandy Davenport to punish these thieving people. Thank you, Mandy. Vera, have you got a list of the people that that Mandy needs to go and visit? Good evening, Vera, from Vera's Choice in the Morning.
Good evening, Chris.
Evening to you, darling. How are you, my love?
I'm good. And yourself?
I'm very well indeed, yes. Just before we go on to that, I'm very pleased that you were able at last to see both the Oyster Lady last night on TikTok. Now, just to let you know, boys and girls, she only does this particular thing when she's live. I don't know how long the live's on for, but I've got a feeling she leaves that phone pointing at her all the time, and all she does is break open oysters from a great big pile, pull the oyster out, dump it in this dirty looking water, and then she moves on to the next one. That's her job. And I've been sending links to Vera, but by the time Vera gets them the next morning, it's too late for her to see them, you see, because she's not live anymore. And she's got a few other videos out there which have sort of limited interest, to be honest. But all she does is crack open those oysters, doesn't she, Vera? I mean, you must have a more interesting job than her, my love.
I think I'd rather crack oysters, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Rather than work in retail.
What, than work at a supermarket, really? Well, at least the oysters don't attack her, I don't think.
Exactly. Then they don't answer back and they don't steal.
No, they don't steal. Only salt water. That's quite funny, that was, wasn't it? Did you find that very intelligent humour?
Yeah, kind of, yes.
Anyway, so I'm imagining, let's just have a quick look at some of the comments here. Weird City Citizen reckons razors or condoms, even. Jason says you wouldn't want them in the same bag, though. Well, Matt also...
No, you wouldn't.
We've excited Mandy now. She thinks she's going on a job. No, it's all right, Mandy. Just demonstrating to the millions of listeners and viewers all over the world what this is all about. Weird City says be something small that they can steal lots of. Right, thank you very much. Anyone else commenting? Hang on a second. And then you can tell us what the most likely thing is. Where are we now? Let me just scroll up there. Let's have a look there. Mark J's there. Good evening to Mark. Natalie's friend Emma is listening from Lytham. I'm not quite sure where Lytham is. Tom reckons sandwiches. Tom reckons sandwiches are nicked or a fizzy drink. Something like that. Natalie reckons mobile phones and play. What's play? Play? I don't know what she means by that.
I don't know
Play.
what play is.
Play.
But unfortunately, supermarkets don't hold mobile phones. If they do, it will be literally a real, a dummy, not a working phone on display.
Right.
A lot of the supermarkets don't do it.
Okay, so it's
because
not
of,
that. Right.
No. It
Okay.
Mobile phone.
Martin H says meats and tinned salmon. He then follows the comment with, "Don't you read the comments?" Oh, it looks like we've got a little bit of an idiot here. Oh dear, here we go. We always get one. You only have so many stories and you repeat them. That's when they leave. Not quite sure what planet that one's on, dear. Lytham apparently is near Blackpool. DJ Sparky likes Lytham. So there's some of the things that people think are stolen from supermarkets. What's the main thing stolen from supermarkets, Vera? Because you work in one.
Right, I can't vouch for all the supermarkets, but I can only talk about the one I work in, that I go in on a daily basis. And number one thing that they steal is meat.
Oh, really? So
Meat is the number one thing they steal.
So it's not alcohol at all?
That's not the top one, it's meat. Meat is what they go for.
Is that a recent...
It used to be alcohol, but obviously people have taken... food is more important now than alcohol because food lasts longer. Alcohol is just something you can drink and that's it. It's over and done with. But food is the main thing.
I mean,
meat.
I remember working in a pub in Camden Town. This is a few years ago now. And I'd be doing the the karaoke there on a Tuesday night. It was a place in Camden called the Golden Lion. Nice little place. And while I was there... Not every week, but now and again you'd get a bloke come in with 2 carry bags full of stolen meat.
Wow.
And he'd go around the pub saying, anyone want to buy anything? And I used to think to myself, how long... You don't know how long that stuff's been in the bag. Now, I remember him coming in on a summer night. It was usually summer he came in, right? Now, I don't know... Did he nick that stuff and then come straight down the pub? Or did he nick it at some other point and shove it in the corner of his house or a garage or somewhere like that, had been sitting there a few hours and then sold it?
Yes. What they tend to do, they've got, for example, they go out and maybe 3 or 4 of them will come into a supermarket with the intention of potential one of them will get caught.
Right.
So the other 3 can carry on with what they do. Because once you catch one person, then the CCTV area is vacant because they've got that person, apprehended that person in the warehouse to be dealt with. So the other 3 are free to do what they have to do.
Wow.
And then they go away and they store the meat somewhere else because obviously they can't carry that load around with them if they're going to go to another store.
Yeah.
So eventually, they will now start to try and sell their wares to various pubs and clubs or wherever they go. And of course, like you said, the meat is now festering for about 8 hours in the heat.
I mean, it wasn't sure. It wasn't short of people to sell this stuff to. Not at all. I mean, by the time he'd gone around the pub, he'd sold everything. The bags were empty. People buying. I don't know what he was selling. It was just stuff. It was meat items. I'm not sure exactly what, but it was definitely meat. Do you want to buy any meat, man? I'm like, no, thank you. No, thank you. But he was selling it in there.
I mean, there was one. This is the funny thing was there used to be a pub just down the high street from where the supermarket that I work in. And after work, I'd go into the pub to meet up with my friends. Now, the chap came in 2 hours after I'd been there trying to sell his meat. Obviously, he must have recognised me because he suddenly did a quick U-turn and ran out the pub. because he now knows that I know that he steals from our store, and he will get caught.
I'm sure you missed nothing, Vera.
I don't miss a trick, that's for sure. Going back onto the list of the most stolen items, number 2 is bedding.
Bedding?
You know, sheets and stuff like that. Yeah, bedding. Oh, yes.
This all
that comes under my department, so I'm always finding the empty packaging of bedding sheets, bed sheets and pillowcases. But we sell them like £28,
right,
and £22, £14, the expensive stuff. Unfortunately, there's no way we can individually tag them with the wire spider tag. We call them the spider tag, but it's got alarm on them.
right.
That's time consuming. So it comes with, I don't know if your viewers have seen it, sort of like a cardboard packaging
Yes.
around it. And we then put a yellow security tag on it. That's all we can do. So of course, they slip it out of the packaging and in their bag and off they go with it.
So they know, don't they?
Yes.
Gosh.
So that's, I'm constantly finding the packaging, which I then have to take to security.
I would never have imagined sheets would be something that they were nicking.
Yes. Especially when they're £28.
Yeah, but in a supermarket, I mean, you say £28. That's not expensive for a sheet. If you told my mate there, you see these sheets, £100 a sheet in John Lewis. 100
but then we're
and
looking
more.
at the East End of London.
And more, yeah.
Sheets for £8.
£8?
£12.
Give me the address
yeah.
now, girl. Give me the address now. I want those £8 sheets, please.
Yeah, and then we do on a regular basis sales. You know,
Right.
double, singles, king size, super king size sheets. They go on sale.
Right.
But the people are going for the most expensive ones. Pillows is another one that they steal. I don't know how they do it, but they do.
Pillows?
Pillows.
How do you get a pillow out the door?
I have
You must
no
pretend
idea.
that you're pregnant. They must come in and pretend that they're pregnant, I suppose. I mean, if you went, you could go in there with, like, I don't know, stuffed up bag with newspapers in it, dump the bag in the shop and replace it with a pillow.
Yes, pillows, duvets.
Right.
What's the other stuff that's been taken?
Did
Chopping boards.
Did you just say duvets?
Yes.
But they're big.
Yes. Now, the problem that we've got, and I think at some point, I think all the supermarkets, the CEOs of all the supermarkets will then come to their senses and realise this idea of self-scan and smart shop is a bad idea,
It's
and
ridiculous.
revert back to having people on tills, because they've opened the door for this problem to occur by allowing people to use their own shopping trolleys and their own bag and their own smart shop, which either could be on their handheld device or on their phones. And a lot of them are not using the smart shop. They're on their phone pretending to be using smart shop and putting things in their shopping trolley. And some things they are scanning. So 2/3 of the stuff in their shopping trolley are not scanned.
So stuff is literally walking out the door, isn't it?
Yes, literally filling up their shopping
since-
trolleys and walking out the door.
Since they started with these self-scannings and and the checkouts that you do yourself, that's not the same, is it? Or is it?
The self-scan.
That's
and
where you've got
smart
that
shop,
gadget, isn't
it's
it?
more or less the same sort. Yes.
Right, okay. So since they started with those gadgets and also self-service checkouts, do you know what extra percentage of stuff is that they reckon is now getting nicked?
It still goes back to the meat again.
Right.
Meat is the thing that they've stolen. Alcohol is a bit difficult to do on the self-scan because the tags are still on there. So unless someone had not been trained properly and someone calls them over and they take the tags off before they pay for it, then they potentially can steal them. But the rule is wait until the customer has paid for everything and then remove the security tag.
I suppose really when you think about it, like supermarkets, when I was a kid, there was a Sainsbury's in Peckham, right? And it wasn't self-service. I remember from memory, there was a big counter in the middle, okay, with several cash-out registers, and there was a big shelf, a big sort of counter all the way around side. So in effect, you had two large counters, one in the middle, like the centre aisle, and one that went right around the outside, you know, from the front door in a sort of U shape, you know, but square sort of thing. And there was no self-service. You had to queue up at each little section to purchase the items you want. You know, there would be the meat items, or I'll have half of it. There's no plate. There was no plastic. No plastic. I'll have some of that, please. Or can I have some butter wrapped in paper? I'll have 3 tins of baked beans, a couple of tins of peas there, please. I don't think they were selling greengrocery products. I don't remember that. For that, you'd have to go to the greengrocers.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly. Don't know about milk. No, there was not milk. No, that was delivered by the milkman. That came from the milkman.
Milk was
And
delivered.
there was no self-service. Therefore, nothing could get nicked. Not really, unless the staff were up to it. But I can't ever see us going back to that somehow, though.
I think it probably will go back, because it's like everything else. It goes around a full circle. We start off with one thing and then we revert back to the thing again. It's like mobile phones. They started off big, they got small, and then they're getting bigger and bigger.
Right.
Like going a full circle.
I mean, I could see certain items, for example, like you're saying there, the meat and the alcohol. I could see those going back behind a shelf again, but everything else, you see, the thing is, these shops, they don't want to pay out for the staff. That's why they're trying to replace you all with machines. But like you say, stuff is literally walking out of the door, isn't it?
No matter what you do, you could, I don't know, put it in an iron cage or whatever. Someone will still break into it and take the item.
Yeah.
I mean, the majority of the other stuff that you probably find when you're litter picking is vapes. That goes missing as well.
Throwaway vapes. What's one of the most common items I find, and by the time I find them, they've been squashed by a car and the battery is further down the road. Terrible. Whoever decided that would be allowed? Throwaway vapes. And believe me, they do throw them away, except not in the bin.
But the bizarre thing is that all this stuff used to be at customer service.
Yeah.
But I think they worked out it's too much work for the colleague behind there, because not only do they have to do lottery, scratch cards, cigarettes, returns and everything else.
Yeah.
They couldn't handle all this vape stuff as well. So it's on a standalone shelf on the shop floor. But like they say, the security person is watching, but they can't watch everybody at the same time. It's virtually impossible. The other stuff, of course, someone mentioned condoms. Condoms are a bit difficult to steal because it's in a secured case.
Oh, is it? Okay. I didn't know that.
A security case, so they have to literally take the whole case with them, and it will set the alarms off, which I constantly keep doing on purpose.
Could you just do us a quick impression of the alarm, please?
Beep, 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 beep.
Oh no! I've suddenly got embarrassed, because that has happened to me before. You know, when you bought something and some idiot hasn't taken the tag off. That has happened to me before. I am so embarrassed when that happens, I can't tell you. I actually get scared leaving a supermarket, even though I've paid for everything, in case that alarm goes off. And everyone looks, don't they, and tuts. Can you do some tutting for us, please, Vera?
I can't. You can't do tut on the phone. Tut tut.
A little bit like that, isn't it?
That sounds like you're kissing somebody.
Oh God! Well, I'm surprised that it was meat and not alcohol. So where does alcohol come down the list then? Is that like fourth or fifth?
Well, alcohol is sort of like between 4 and 5.
Right.
Down the list, because it's the easy stuff that they can get,
Sweets?
which has not got any security tags on them.
Sweeties?
Like baby formula. Now we've started to tag those now.
Baby formula.
Baby formulas. Yeah, they're stealing those. Again, it's the whole smart shop putting it in their trolley. That's where they go missing.
Yeah.
And then the obvious things like toys, chocolates, sweets, and cat food, beauty products. There was one lady, this is going back a few years ago, one lady, she decided upon herself, I don't know what sort of medication she was on, but she decided that she was going to try and run out the door with 4 bags of 20-kilo bags of rice. 4 of them.
Gosh, right.
They weighed a ton. I mean, she had 40 kilos of rice in one hand, the other 40 in another hand, and she started running towards the door. Of course, she got caught. Right, this is one woman carrying 4 bags. It took 4 of us to bring those bags back because they were too heavy for one person, so it took 4 of us to carry 20 kilos back to the shop. Of course, we got her as well, and we took her around the back. But how she was able to run through the door with 40 kilos of bags of rice, and it took 4 of us to bring all of it back.
It's the
was
gall
so
of
heavy.
it, isn't it? It's the gall of it. Over our little local co-op in there, I know I know the staff quite well in there. And Rob, who works in there, he was telling me once someone came in the door and the cooler cabinets, you know, for pizzas and fresh pizzas and things like that, and chickens and that, the cooler cabinets, someone came in and nicked all the chickens. Like, literally put them all in a basket and ran out the bleeding door.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
And
I
think
thought,
I told you, I was in there once, and I'd literally just gone in the door, and on the left-hand side is like fruit and veg things in a basket, you know, like potatoes, carrots, that sort of thing. And then on the other side of the door was chocolate. It must have been on special offer or something, but boxes of chocolate. Not boxes of chocolates, boxes of chocolate. So, you know, extra large dairy milk. I don't know how many in a box, 20 maybe, 30, I don't know. Right. Anyway, so as I went in, I saw this bloke, and he had a basket. And he's putting in his basket 2 or 3 boxes of these chocolate. And I like to talk to people, you know. I usually instigate a conversation. Oh, you must like chocolate, mate, don't you? And he just looked at me and then carried on. I thought, oh, well, please yourself, you miserable old git. And anyway, I then turned around and opened the door to the pizzas. And suddenly I heard a crash. And I looked round and I just about saw his arse going out the door with the basket of chocolate.
oh my
He'd
God.
nicked all the chocolate. And I went straight round to the cash register and I said, someone's just nicked a load of chocolate. And the bloke looked at it and said, oh, right, okay then. Well, are you going to do anything? Yeah, oh yeah, I better let the manager know. And I thought, what is the point? What is the point if that's the general attitude? It wasn't Rob. And another time I told Rob, and he said, no, we are actually told not to go after the customers because we could get hurt. Which I get. But if they think they can just get away with it, this is why it just keeps happening all the time. They
No, but
know
the
they
thing
can
is
get
that
away with it.
The rules are, if we see something,
Yeah.
we alert the security guards, who then scan in on that person on the camera.
Right.
And they have one person going round to that area.
Yes.
And they'll have an undercover chap going the other way as well to watch and keep an eye on them. Because he walks around with a shopping trolley in his hand with certain items, look like a normal shopper, but he's actually undercover.
Oh, what, your security guard? Right, yeah.
The security people.
Okay, yeah.
But then if you've got something that could escalate on a large scale, and we've only got 2 security guards, that's when all the male colleagues will come out
Right.
and assist them. So you've got all the big guys will come out and stand there, keep their distance, and let the security person deal with it. But if it escalates, they will step in and help out.
When you say escalate, do you mean more people are doing it all at the same time in a group?
No, I mean, sometimes you've got... had been one situation whereby this lady had a shopping trolley filled with stuff that she'd stolen, and she didn't want to part with the shopping trolley. So it was a tug of war with the security person and this lady. Now, it's a catch-22 scenario because you have to being a male security person, you can't touch the woman as such. So they could only wrestle with the shopping trolley, try to get it off her, but they couldn't touch her in any way because she's a woman and they're not allowed to.
Right.
But I was there if they needed assistance because it would have been a smackdown as far as I was concerned. If I was given the go-ahead, she would have been on that floor.
I'm sure it would.
You know what I'm like.
I'm sure it would.
It would have been WWE, whatever, smackdown, and she would have been flat out by the time I finished with her. But of course, I kept my distance in case they needed my assistant because I can handle a female where they couldn't.
I could see you taking on the new love of my life, Tommy Fury, to be honest. You know, I could see. I'm just waiting for him to leave his girlfriend and knock on my door. Hasn't happened yet, but we're always living in hope, aren't we? You know.
Yeah. I mean, I've had
what about
over the years.
What I was going to say. What about cat food? Tom reckons cat food goes missing a lot.
Cat food. It's not so much the cat food. It's the what are those things? The flea things.
Oh yeah, flea destroyers or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, they're
the
expensive.
stuff that you put in the back of the neck. They are expensive, so they just tend to go missing. So they take those.
I didn't know you were selling those
empty
now.
packets.
I thought you could only get them from vets.
No, some supermarkets. I mean, they're not the greatest. Obviously, I mean, your best bet is to go to a vet to get the proper stuff.
Right.
Which lasts longer to kill the fleas, so-called fleas on the cats and dogs.
Yes.
But this is just like a quick thing for the cats and the dogs. The other item is that you probably laugh at this is frozen food. Now, they don't take the whole stuff. They take it out of the packaging and leave the empty boxes. So you'll get like frozen. They take the fish fingers out and leave the box.
What do you mean, like
frozen chicken?
So are the fish fingers in like a plastic bag or something? Because I don't eat those.
No, they're in a box. So they'll just take it out the box.
Aren't they covered
in
breadcrumbs?
Their own bag.
They're covered in breadcrumbs, aren't they?
Yeah, they'll put it in a plastic bag and put it in their shopping trolley, but leave the box.
Wow.
Because some of them don't. They think that everything on the shop floor has a security tag, so they don't want to take any chances. So they'll empty the products into their own bag.
Yes.
And leave the packaging.
It's a different world that I know, my dear. When I'm going around the Aldi, I've seen people run out of Aldi with bags of shopping. Literally run out.
Oh,
but the Aldi staff, they're a little bit more butch, shall we say, than the Waitrose staff and the Sainsbury's staff. The Aldi staff, women as well, tend to run out the door after them. Yeah, especially Mandy. You don't muck around with Mandy. Oh, my God, I've seen her go for people. You know when they put that red, you know, on the tills, because they ain't got no self-service ones in there. They got these red bar things that they put down when their till's about to close. Yeah.
We call them the gridlocks.
I don't know what they're called, but you know, you're at the till.
We call them the gridlocks.
Then you grab one of the. You used to call them gridlocks. You grab one of the gridlocks and put it down so that the next person can put their stuff behind yours. Yeah, yeah. And
I see you mean dividers.
Oh, is that what they're called? Dividers. Okay.
Dividers on the
conveyor belt.
Yes.
And dividers, on the conveyor belt tonight.
Customers, yeah.
That's the one, yeah. Right. Yeah. So, and at some point, when they see it's getting a little bit quieter, the person on the till will say, "Oh, could you put that one down the end, please? Now, give you the red one to put behind you." If you're on Mandy's till, right, and you've put that red one down, and someone comes behind you and starts unloading, woe betide you. Woe betide you. Excuse me, this till's closing. Can you see the red barrier there? Can you see, I can't remember what she calls it now. Can you see the red divider? Yeah, this till's closing now. Yeah, well, I'm sorry you've only got 2 items. This closes till. Could you go to another till, please, sir? Thank you. If you could, please, sir. Thank you very much. No, you ain't going to muck around with Mandy, mate. You will not muck around with her.
Quite right, too. Because, I mean, they are finishing at that precise moment. Like 5
Yeah.
o'clock is 5 o'clock as far as they're concerned. They're not paid an extra five.
Of course
for 5
they're not.
minutes, 10 minutes, or 15.
Not getting any
So
blooming overtime.
they
Yeah,
want to get out the door. They
absolutely.
spent 8 hours in there. They want to get out the door. I'm the same. Once I've done my hours, 2 minutes, nope, I'm gone.
None for you. Can I read some of these messages, Mandy? Because they're
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
stacking up a little bit here. Daniel says, Hounslow. Good evening, Daniel. Hounslow Audi has a self-service there. And Lidl as well. They got the self-service there. I'm in Bracknell, Daniel. We don't have that here yet, unfortunately. Mark J says, will shops implement the technology Amazon uses in their convenience stores that that watches you like a hawk? If you pick it up, the system knows. So I've seen that reported. DJ Sparky says Curry's had TVs stolen. They literally walk out. I mean, if you've got the bottle to do it, I just couldn't do that, couldn't I? I just couldn't do anything like that. Good evening to Dino. Welcome to the show, Dino there. Mark Bowles wants to know if I want to steal his meat. I'm not quite sure what he means by that.
Oh, dear.
Rob, hello to Rob. Rob Shaggy Kershaw is watching on delay. He's had a cringe moment the other day. He was in Sainsbury's during the weekly shop and it was down the aisle where the cooking oil is. A lad was putting stuff in his rucksack. I went and found a member of staff on one of the other aisles to tell them some lad is filling his bag with items from your shop. He went to customer service desk and the next 3 members came and I was discreetly trying to point the lad out so that they could catch him. However, one of them said to me, he is a colleague who works here and he is using the Smart Shop app on his phone. He puts his stuff in his rucksack as he scans it. I said, well, how was I to know? From now on, I won't be a free working citizen trying to save the supermarket some money. He's got a very good point there. Yeah. He's got a really good point there. That's the trouble. Now that I never thought of that. Now that you've introduced the self-service scanning thing, so people scan and stuff. My mate's got one. I don't want one. I haven't got one. I don't know what it is, Vera. I worry that I'm gonna not scan something accidentally and nick it. That bothers me. And a similar thing happened to me when I was doing my shopping in Waitrose. It's going back a few years ago now. I think our Waitrose certainly was the first one who had the self-service checkouts, and I used to use them. And now and again you'd get a pullover, not a pullover as in a jumper, a check. Now and again you get a check. Oh, it's come up and we've got to check your shopping today. Yeah, okay, that's fine. And I had it once, then I had it twice, and then I didn't have it for ages and ages and ages. I mean, months. And then I had one. So they checked my shopping and discovered that I had overscanned. And I hadn't put stuff in my basket that I'd actually scanned. So I don't know how that happened. Right, maybe I'd got like sausages and I'd scanned 2 sausages and I only had one in my bag and it actually came out in my favour. And after that, I never got asked again.
Yeah, I mean...
So it can work the other way as well. You're doing yourself out of money.
Yeah. With the self-scan system, they've all got scales. So once you scan something and you put it on the stand or whatever, it weighs it.
Yes.
So it knows that item is what it is.
Yes.
If you, for example, what is it? Like, if you've taken a bite out of an apple and weigh it, actually, it probably weigh less. But if you take it to, I don't know, no, it won't, because it knows it's supposed to be that particular weight.
Yeah.
How can I put it? Biscuit. If you take a biscuit out of a packet and you've eaten 2 of them,
yes,
and you put the pack of biscuits down, it knows it's something wrong. That's when the red light will come on, and this colleague will have a look to see what's gone wrong.
And you get a lot of that, people eating stuff as they go round.
Yes.
And you say
I found cans of Red Bull, Coca-Cola, biscuits, half a donut. Yes, they've had a little munch and then they've just gone home. Yes, empty packages everywhere.
Tell me, do you get to eat the other half of the donut at all, or?
No.
They don't let you. What a
All
shame.
members of staff, if they're caught eating or drinking in the warehouse or on the shop floor,
Yeah.
that will be disciplinary
Right.
straight away.
Right.
Going
What
back
about-
to the alcohol scenario,
So-
there was one chap that was caught trying to steal 16 bottles of Jack Daniels.
Gosh. How?
This is what stunned all of us. He was a skinny guy, about my build and my height, and he had 16 bottles which he'd hidden amongst his persons. He had them in his jacket, he had them in his jogging bottoms, down his jumper, down his sleeve, down his leg. Yeah, 16 bottles. And we couldn't believe that he would kept pulling these bottles out and putting them on the table. We were thinking, where are these bottles coming from? And it was coming from him. He didn't have a bag or rucksack or anything like that. He was just putting them in his pocket, up his sleeve, down his trousers, jogging bottoms, all over around his body.
You just wouldn't think it's possible to do it, would you?
Well,
You know.
he did it. And we caught one other chap
Yeah.
who decided that it was a good idea because he wanted some alcohol, so he grabbed a bottle of wine and started drinking it. So he's going around the store drinking this bottle, and they caught him and they brought him into the warehouse. So now, by this point, he's really and truly tipsy. So he said to them, "Oh, can I finish drinking that?"
You
And they
can't
said,
be
"Well,
for
no,
real.
you can't finish drinking it. You know, you've stolen half of it. So you
Dino
want to finish it off."
reckons leg of lamb at the moment is the most expensive food item you can steal. Is that right, Let's Vera? Leg of lamb. Is that
Leg of lamb
expensive?
is expensive,
Right.
but it's too much of a big item to try and put in your bag or hide. It tends to be mincemeat and chicken fillets and stuff like that.
Right.
In some cases, they take the mincemeat out of the packaging and put it in their own packages and taking that. But it is mincemeat and chicken.
Couldn't make it up, could
tends
you, eh?
to go.
We've got some other suggestions.
Even though they have the security tags on them, which is embedded by the company, they still manage to steal it.
We've got some other suggestions from people here. What about coffee, Mick Davenport? Coffee.
Coffee, funny enough, no.
Really? And yet that's an expensive item now, isn't it? Coffee.
No, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of coffee brands out there that's reasonably priced.
Okay.
Cheese?
Cheese?
So you don't really have to go for the most expensive one in the world. I mean, you could still enjoy a nice cup of tea or coffee by the basic or the standard brands, really.
Not the Nescafe Gold Blend, then, no?
No, coffee is something that people are not really into. I mean, it tends to be stupid things like batteries and
batteries
cheese.
Batteries are blooming expensive. I wanted 2 batteries some time ago. Something to do at the Caravan, the Luxury Waterside Media Centre. I wanted a battery, I think for a clock. I think it was for a clock, right? Of course, you can only get packs of 2. And I went to the Co-op, and it was a £5. £5 for 2 bleeding batteries. So I can understand those going next. They must have the security tags on them, surely batteries, because they're quite they're small and
we've
nickable.
got. It's a difficult one to there's a constant argument between managers and colleagues and the rep who works for Duracell, because they're saying we don't need to tag them, and we are saying we do. So they're saying, no, just put them out. We don't need to tag them. I said, okay, it's your call. You're the rep for Duracell batteries, so therefore we won't do it. But they do go missing.
I'm
but
sure they
of course,
do.
The security person's not really watching them because, as far as they're concerned, if they take 2 or 3 packets, the law has changed now. It has to be over £60 or more before police can be called.
So what if I got to my Sainsbury's now and I nick £40 worth of stuff? What's going to happen to me? Right, so I've gone in there, I've got £40 worth, and I've been caught. Now what? What's going to happen to me then? You're going to call the police? No.
Well, the procedure is, it depends on how you've reacted. If you're going to put up a fight, then you're going to have there's going to be a situation. It needs to be done nice and calmly. We take you around into the warehouse. We don't have a security room, unfortunately. It's the warehouse where we've got a camera anyway. And then we unload the stuff from your bag or your persons. We then take it to an empty till and scan it to get a total. And then we will put it to you and say, well, this is the amount of the cost of the item. Are you going to pay for them? So we give you the opportunity to say, if you want to pay for them, you can do so. But then you will be barred from the store. But if you decide, no, I'm not doing that, I didn't steal it, blah, 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 then we'll take the details. If you want to give it to us, we'll take the details, the police will be called, blah, blah, and then that's it, and you'll be barred or banned from the store for however long it is for, I'm not sure. But that's the procedures. If you're under 16, we will still do the same thing, but then we will try and see if we can get hold of a parent or an adult to come down to the store. And the police will be called, if depending on what the item is they've stolen. A lot of these kids nowadays, they don't really care. They're not scared of the police or anything
No,
anymore.
I don't think they are. Well, it's hardly a. It's what you're telling me there is hardly. I mean, like I say, it would worry the life out of me if I nicked so much as a bleeding lemon sherbet and an alarm went off and I was caught. I would be horrified. Absolutely, there's a black mark now against my name for the rest of my life. But they're just not bothered. But what you're telling me there, you know, they just ask you if you want to pay for it. So I'll pay for it. Okay, so I'm barred from that shop. So what? It's hardly going to put anyone out. If people knew this, it's not going to put them off trying to nick stuff, is it?
No, but the thing is, you see, I mean, the security people that we have, I think some of them work 7 days a week, but at different times we have the same people. So now all you got to do, I mean, I could be a criminal, you know, I've got enough experience by watching other people do it to know how it works. I mean, if I was to go into the store and I got caught the first time, I would go in, have a look, see who the security people is. If it's totally different from the ones that were there that caught me, then they're not going to know it's me coming in. That's the problem we have. So if they change security people, the same ones that were caught the other day will be in the next day when those two people were working, and they're not working anymore, you know.
And presumably if the thieves know when certain security staff are not the ones that caught them, they would be aware of that, wouldn't they, I suppose?
Yes, of course. I mean, you just spend an hour and a half in the warehouse looking at the same security person, you're going to know who they are the next time around.
When there's a new one. A bit like when the managers change in pubs, you know, all those people that were barred tend to come straight back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the only person that will know who were barred was the bar staff, but the managers won't know. So it all depends if the manager wants to listen to the bar staff that he has, or just think, well, you know, let's start all over again and do it, you know, start from scratch. So you've got that scenario as well. The bar staff telling the manager, this person's been barred because blah, blah, blah. And you think, well, I'm taking over here, so I'm not going to do that. I want to start all over, start from scratch.
Unbelievable.
So, yes.
Well, thank you, Vera, for your insight into dirty, thieving people today.
I'm sorry that some of you may well have nodded off.
Oh, we haven't nodded off, darling. They'd wait till I start talking before that. I'm going to read some of these. Thank you, Vera.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Vera from Vera's Choice in the morning. Yeah. See you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye, darling.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye, love. Oh, sorry, wrong button there. I always hit my mic button instead of the phone button there. Let's read some of your messages on this subject there. Rebel Bert reckons chocolate there. Built in Scotland, Meek says cheese, and she was just talking about cheese and cream. You see, cheese and cream, I'd be worried it'd be running down into my pockets. Mandy, bacon and cold meats. Yes, I think she covered meats there. It's untrue, isn't it? Mick says in Bristol they nick microwaves. Gosh, is that right? Where are we? Hello to Oliver. Good evening, Oliver. Evening to you, sir. Chicken is almost about the same price of steak now. I think the ones that are thieving are the supermarkets. Yeah, you got a good point there. I haven't bought dead animals for ages now. Actually, chicken or meat. I think it was somewhere the other day, and I was surprised at the price of a piece of steak. I think it might have been when I was in Scotland with my niece. Actually, I've got to book another holiday up there probably in July, and yeah. I was very surprised at the price of one small piece of steak. Gosh. Gary says he hates the self-service tills. They are putting people out of a job. Well, they are. And I mean, it must be that the supermarkets do lose a lot of money on these self-service tills, but it's not as much as having to employ someone to sit on the checkout. That's the only thing I can think. That's the only thing I can think. All right. Scrolling down very quickly. As always, gang, if you want to send us a text, sometimes in the chat box, there's so much stuff to weed out of there before you get to a message that relates to the programme. I might miss it. So do send a text in. The text number is 07451 287 337. All right, 07451 287 337 is the text number. You won't hear that on TikTok, all right? Scrolling quickly. Where we go now? Are we there? Evening to Alan Russell. Evening to you. Mick's watching a programme on five star. What's that? That's one of the Channel 5 channels, isn't it? 5 star about shoplifting as we speak. Look at that. Look at that. Very good evening to Darren Askew. Pain and suffering for the looters. Mandy Davenport is standing by, as you well know, Darren. All right, she is standing by to dish that out. Good evening to Matthew. Evening, Matthew. Have you tried Amazon Fresh? No, we haven't got one round here. I haven't got one of those round here at all. Funnily enough, now and again, I do go past the one near Camden. It's on a busy junction. You turn left to go down Camden Road. If you keep going, you'll end up at Mornington Crescent Station. Way before that, on the left, I think there's an Amazon Fresh. But whenever I go past, it's not 24 hours, is it? It's always closed. So I haven't been there yet, but I know from reading articles and things about them that they've got cameras all over the place. And the moment you pick something up, they know about it, don't they? Very good idea. Perhaps this is something that will go across all the other supermarkets. I don't know. Thank you very much. Vera sending me 5 gifts of some sort. I'm not quite sure what they are, to be honest, Vera. Look like ice cubes. Ice, baby. Toys and games. Mark J. Toys and games. Dino used to nick the pick and mix. Well, a couple of sweets here and a couple of sweets there, you know. Natalie reckons sugar. I think everyone probably when... they are ice cubes, are they? Thank you, Vera. When I used to have the pick and mix in Woolworths, I think everyone sort of walked around there and had a couple of sweets while they were doing stuff. Didn't stop you buying them, though. You know, you wouldn't just go over there and take 2 sweets and not buy anything. You know, you still buy your big bag of sweets. Don't ever buy pick and mix in a cinema. You are lulled into a false sense of security as you fill up that tiny paper bag or the cup, and then you go to the till just as you're going to go into the cinema. Thanks very much. That's £7.50, please. Don't think so. I've put stuff back before. £7.50? I don't think so, matey. I'll keep it. I've done that. Where did I do that? Somewhere like the London Experience, not the London Dungeon. It was on the other side of the road. We couldn't get into the London Dungeon, so there was this thing across the road called the London Bridge Experience. That was it. We went round there. What a load of crap that was. Well, I mean, it's years ago, so it might well have changed now. Absolute load of rubbish it was. And afterwards, I think my nephew was very young then, about 10 years old. There's a few of us went. And afterwards, you go into this shop and there was the pick and mix there. Right? So I said to my nephew, yeah, do you want some of this? And he said, yeah, all right. So we filled up this bag. It wasn't that big. And we got to the checkout, and I said, how much? I said, no, we aren't paying that. And we walked out. And then we went to a little newsagent and got stuff in there, for a tenth of the price. Outrageous. Dino says, get some in the train station. What? Pick a mix. Do they do those in train stations now? I didn't know that. Thank you for the rose, Mark. You're very kind with the rose there. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, we've done that little bit there. Right. Mark Bowles. Cheese always gets stolen. I think so, Mark. I think so. I wonder who would be stealing yours, huh? Keep that fridge door closed, my dear. Good evening to Peter Lake. Welcome to Peter Lake in the listening in Woodall Spa this evening. Jason used to eat the grapes as I walked around doing the shopping. I think a lot of people do, don't they? They do watch that. Hello to Brewer Bit Rickshaw just joining us out there. Mandy Davenport used to hand out Pain and Suffering. Excellent, Mandy. Head of Pain and Suffering on this channel. She used to hand out Pain and Suffering to shoplifting when I worked in a supermarket. I may have been 5'0", but they didn't mess with me. And your name is Mandy as well. This must be a thing, Mandy. Because the Mandy in Audi, you don't want to muck with her. You really don't want to muck with her. Talking to people you didn't want to muck with, I was very sad to see some news this evening, or a couple of nights ago it was now. Betty Boothroyd. Betty Boothroyd, who was, of course, Speaker of the House 1992 to 2000. I can't believe how long ago that was. She finished doing that 23 years ago. I loved her. You didn't ever want to muck with Betty Boothroyd. Daily Express, she took the role from 1992 to 2000 with a tribute describing her as a sharp, witty and formidable woman. The first and today only female Speaker of the House of Commons, Betty Boothroyd, has died. She was 93 years old. And Sir Lindsay Hoyle, who's the Speaker in the House at the moment, said she was an inspirational politician and someone I was proud to call my friend. I used to love watching her on the telly. And the ones since, bit wishy-washy, aren't they? You've got to look her up on YouTube. If you've never seen her before, just type in Betty Boothroyd on YouTube and you can see her doing her stuff in the House of Commons. Amazing woman. She was, I'm sure her name should have been Mandy, to be honest. Because it seems to me that all Mandys are a little bit, with the old whip, cracking the whip and keeping the male people in place. And so they should be. I have always said, girls, now and again, just give your husband a little bit of a clump round the head, just to keep him in place. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, we're going to have a little piece of music now, boys and girls.
Close my eyes, you're right here with me.
welcome back, boys and girls. You can call in. We do have a phone number which is open if you want to call in about any of the little bits and pieces we're talking in or anything like that. Once again, as always, on TikTok, you won't be able to hear the number. But if you want to call in, it's 020 8144 3477. 020 8144 3477. Give us a call if you want to, all right? We got Craig joining us. Where is Chris? He's sitting here. I had to put down for another little cup of water. It's funny, you know, sometimes I can go through the whole 2 hours and not need a sip of water. And other times, I need loads for some reason. I don't know why. And today is the one that I need worse. We might even have to have a toilet break later on if it goes on. You know. Over on the text messages, Maureen is planning to celebrate her birthday this Friday at Central Station. Is it your birthday this week, Maureen? That is you, isn't it, Maureen? So, March the 3rd. Is that your actual birthday, March the 3rd, Maureen? For some reason, I thought yours was in November. Why did I think your birthday was in November? Or is that DJ Chris? That might be DJ Chris in November. Oh, wow. Happy birthday for Friday. There you go. Who's coming down for Maureen's birthday? Pop down to Maureen's birthday on Friday night at Central Station, where I do the karaoke. Central Station, Wharfdale Road in King's Cross. All right, let's take another call. Dino's in Surrey. Good evening, Dino.
Good evening. How are we this evening?
All right, all is well, all is well. We're still talking about Steve Allen here. Maureen sent in another message saying, I really miss Steve Allen's radio show. He said he would never leave as he enjoyed his job so much, never classed as work. It's the same as me, you know. Something has gone wrong at the management meeting. Got to have. What do you reckon?
I think it definitely has. I think that some of the presenters, one or two of them that he said maybe some things about have gone back to management, have asked for his resignation. Because I noticed Christo over the past couple of days on another radio station hasn't been saying nice things, but he has been saying, you know, I never did anything bad to Steve Allen, but, and then it was like spewed out. Just
that he went for it, too.
Steve Allen.
Yeah, I've never.
You know, and I thought, here we go.
I've never really liked that Christo. He's a bit woke and he just goes, all he ever used to, well, I don't know what he's like now, but whenever he was on LBC, the only thing, he'd always bring around virtually every single conversation to LGBT. You know, just give us some normal news. They've got this blooming thing to batter away at all the time, haven't they, Dino?
They have, and he is, he's very much, you know, he's waving his banner and his flag all the time. All right, you fit in everywhere now, you know. Gay bars aren't gay bars anymore.
No, they're not.
You can go into any bar now and you'll find a gay person. It's pretty much the same as if you go into a gay bar, it will be 50-50 straight and gay. It's all mixed now. There's no such thing as that anymore. I mean, if you go into any bar, sometimes you can go into a straight bar now and there's a drag queen or there's a stripper and you just think, oh, okay. It's all become part of the norm. There's no sectioning off communities anymore, and as there shouldn't be. Yeah,
you're right. You're right.
And it's totally different. Even if you compare 10 years ago to now, it's totally different.
And this is the thing with Steve Allen. You see, he didn't go on about it. He just got on with it. You know,
The funny thing is, if you brought anything up like that with Steve Allen, he'd go, "Oh, stop it," kind of thing. Move on next.
Yeah.
He was fed up with it too.
I used to ring him up. So I used to send him messages, actually, when me and my friend Danny were going back from Chariots very late in the morning. And Chris and Danny are just going back from the sauna. Oh, that's a bit early, boys. No luck today.
I mean, I listened to him from the very... I mean, I've been listening to LBC since I was a child.
Yes.
And that is why I have insomnia.
Right.
Because I have been listening every night. Even when I used to have to get up for school at 7 o'clock in the morning, I would be listening through the night. And because back in the day, he was on earlier.
That's right,
They put him on the night shift.
Yeah.
But I used to listen all the way through the night, and my body clock is still the same. I cannot go to bed. I don't go to bed till 2 o'clock. And then 4 o'clock, my body clock just goes ping.
Is it?
It's 4 a.m. and Steve Allen, and I listen to Steve Allen. And it is very refreshing. He is very refreshing.
Well, that's when I used to listen on the way driving home from the Black Cap. You know, like two or Black Cap or Chariots. I'd be driving home at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and there he was. And I was totally. This is before I was doing any sort of talk show. This is before I even started, because this started as an audio-only show 15 years ago, right? So this is before that, and I was amazed how someone could open a microphone. I think it was 1 o'clock he started, and talk until 6 o'clock without even taking a single phone call, because he didn't like to take phone calls, did he?
No, never.
He just talked for 5 hours, and I was amazed at this. Amazed.
The funny thing is back in the day before he didn't take phone calls, even when he did, he made people's calls very short and sweet and would talk.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons. I think he realised very early on that he didn't need anybody.
Right. Yeah.
And it worked. It was a formula. I don't think that's been repeated, and I don't think ever will by anybody.
There's a few people in America, they do kind of their own thing, but each one is...
But that's kind of shock jocks, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, Steve Allen was a shock jock, but it was in a very, very gentle way.
Yeah, I think so.
It wasn't... I mean, I don't think he ever really... I mean, with his Mickey taking out of, Gemma Collins, I think if you listen to his show, you would know what he was all about, and you know that he really didn't mean...
No!
He would never go at someone where it really, really got to them, where it really hurt them. He'd mention it, and he'd go back at people now and again. For instance, I know he'd go at Jordan, Katie Price, talking about on the television right now, as they've got this new program, Katie Price, how she's cleaning out her home because it's in rack and ruin. I've just switched it on, and it looks like an absolute disaster.
I can't think of anything worse than watching a show with one of that lot on there. The Z list celebrities. It's like these people on The Only Way is Essex, and they start following their lives, and then they have a baby, and there's the new baby, and I'm like, how is this of interest to anyone?
Let me ask you a question. Have you been watching Dancing on Ice? Now, before this year, I've never watched it.
Right.
And they've got Joey Essex on it.
Okay.
Talking of, and oh my God, he's incredible. I've never watched it before this year. I was just like, another reality program.
Right.
And I can't ordinarily be doing with virtual reality, or anything like that. But I do notice they are bringing back Big Brother, which I will be very interested in, and I bet you're turning your nose up, aren't you?
I am turning my nose up. Yeah.
I thought you would.
Just tell me about Joey Essex. What was it? He can ice skate?
Incredibly.
And is that something he's just suddenly learned, or could he do it before? I wonder.
No, they taught him from scratch, and it's very, very good. And the Vivian's on it as well. The drag queen, the Vivian.
Yeah, yeah.
She's on it too, and skating very well as well. It's amazing.
Gosh.
I think you can teach people any craft if you're in that that I'm going to do this, and I'm going to you can learn a new craft.
I don't think you can do anything. I don't believe that. For example, I can't do art, DIY, football, swimming. I don't think I can do anything actually.
Well, do you know what? All those things you mentioned, all those things you mentioned, I've taken up probably in the past 5 years.
Right. Well, I'm quite good at
I never do anything like that before, because I've got my brother who lives with me,
right,
and he's autistic, and autistic people are very clever.
They are,
anything that needs doing in the house, I say, Martin, and there he goes.
And he can do it.
I get all the repairs done. So
I'm quite good at litter picking, perhaps because you kind of run a council, don't you? Perhaps you've got a little litter picking job there for me. I mean, is it very far to me to drive where you are? In time, about an hour?
I do actually have a litter picking group.
Oh, and how much do they get a week?
A smile from me.
Oh, you volunteers, the same as what I do around here. And can we get a paid one? See, it
Oh,
would,
you could do, but it's all extras that go in with just, it's not just that.
no, I think I think it's a very, very different thing if you want to do it as a paid job. Because literally, I might, I think I'll go out and do a bit of litter picking. I'm a bit
The
like
funny
that.
the funny thing is, in the next village to us, we have got a paid litter picker, and he really enjoys it because he lives in the town.
Yeah. Yes.
It makes him very proud. Makes him very proud.
I am. On a Saturday, I have a route I do, which is about 2.5 hours. Okay. And I might get 2 bags of litter or 5. Just depends how it's been going, right? And I do all that and then come home, lunch, bed, get up, go to work. And I drive down the road that I've just picked up on a few hours later, and there's nothing there. And there's nothing there because I've picked it all up, and I feel fantastic over that. And it's always very disappointing when I come home and drive down that same road and then, two new pieces of litter. But the trouble is, once you start doing it, you become very addicted. Very addicted to it.
Well, I told you, in the very beginning when I moved here,
Yeah.
I've had this conversation with you, I know, a little bit offline. When I moved here, there's 25 shops in my high street. When I moved here, 22 of them were empty. And I set about filling up my local shops.
Right.
Because I thought I would never want to move anywhere
Yeah.
where it was desolate and the high street was finished and boarded up and all of that. Anyway, I got all of the shops reopened.
Yeah.
That made me quite proud. And then I started running the local Facebook groups because there wasn't one. And I very quickly got 8,500 people on it. And then some people were saying, I'm on my own, it's Christmas time, I've got no food. They weren't like begging, but it was just kind of loose conversation.
Yes.
So I started a food bank. Now I feed between 300 and 400 people a month. And then I stood for the council, and here I am now running the local council as well. So when I moved here, I had no intentions of doing anything. But the reason that I do it is because I'm very proud, and a bit like you, I'm very passionate about walking outside my front door and not seeing deprivation.
Yeah.
And if there is, trying to get rid of it.
Trying to do something about it. Yeah.
Yeah, doing all those things. And I think you have to be proud of where you live. And even if it's not a nice area, so long as the area around where your home is, even if you can just make that nice, or even just your garden, you could live in the worst area in the world, but so long as you're proud of when you open your front door and you see all the beautiful flowers that you planted,
Yes.
or, and it's, your little domain, so long as you can make that little bit of difference, it makes you feel that much better inside. And that's, that's how I feel. But I've done it on a little bit of a bigger scale, and it makes me very, very humble, and I love it, especially with my food bank, taking things to some of the old girls, or even some of the people that have fallen onto hard times. I had one guy who was a city banker, and he was earning upwards of 70 grand a year, and he's now working in Costa Coffee.
Oh,
Still
yes.
got the big car, still got the massive house.
Right.
Knows it's only a temporary measure till he gets back on his feet. But I'm providing him, he's not using the car, it's in the garage because he can't afford to run it. And, I'm feeding him and his wife, and he's got 4 kids. And it makes you realise when they're on that pedestal right up there and they're untouchable, how they can crash down to, nothing.
In a second.
They become very humble once they've fallen from a great height.
Yeah.
And they appreciate the smaller things, whereas before, he was, buying the best things, going away on all these wonderful holidays, travelling the world, and now, he can't even afford to go to Butlins.
No.
And it is sometimes you have to be knocked off your pedestal when you're on that great height just to appreciate the people that are down at the bottom of the ladder.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree
And that's
with you.
and that's one of them. But it's very humbling to go to his front door and seeing him, whereas before he was so stuck up, being so humbled now and being so thankful, and see his little kids, when you give them a little extra bag and there's all the sweets in there and their eyes light up. That is one of the reasons for doing what I do, because I love it when the kids are there and seeing their eyes light up with little presents and little things. And we gave them loads of presents over Christmas as well,
you?
all the local kids. And it's wonderful. And I think there comes a stage where we all, at some stage in our lives when we think, I'd like to volunteer for something, maybe not on the scale that I'm doing it, or maybe, or something different.
Yeah.
And I think if we all gave up a little bit of our time to do something in our community, no matter what it is, no matter how big or small, because, there could be someone else right next to you that's doing the same thing, and you join together, and then it gets bigger because someone else joins it. And, it's something always starts small and it grows. And I think everyone in their community should try and do something to, bring up their community.
You can't get,
it's all gloom and doom out there now.
You can't get some of them out the blooming door. You really can't. But there's quite a few of us do it round here, and it's quite nice. Sometimes you might be out doing a little bit, and you'll bump into someone coming the other way doing the same thing, and then it all immediately stops, and we have a 10-minute conversation about litter.
Well, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before you know it, you've got a litter picking group, which leads to something else. My next thing is doing a 1:00 club for the elderly for lunches.
They do. Yeah.
But that's because it's grown out of other things.
Yes.
Some other people have said, do you know what, there's enough of us now to do this project. There's enough of us to do that project. And you think, well, there are. So then you attempt something else and you create that and you get more volunteers. And then you move on to something else. There's enough of us, why don't we do this and do that? So I've got all these little splinter groups, and it's so lovely because some of the people that can't go to work for health reasons, or there's quite a few people that have got anxiety. It brings them out of their shell, meeting other people. I do like little coffee mornings, and it's nice to bring people out of their shell that probably would never come outside their front door, because there's quite a lot of people after COVID that have never gone out again.
Gosh.
There's a lot round here.
I think there's a few round here.
It's made them so frightened to go out.
They still don't like going out. Even my Auntie Brenda, she says to me on the phone, she says, I wish things would get back to normal. And I'm like, well, they are, aren't they? I think they are. Really?
Yeah.
But...
My brother, since COVID, I think my brother's been out maybe a dozen times.
Is he fearful, is he, of the world now?
Do you know what? He doesn't let anything really bother him, but the COVID really kind of shook him up. And the reason being is, it's really unfortunate. I know we spoke about this before, but the television, especially the news, is very, very dangerous. Now, you've seen over the past couple of weeks, all that with Sky News, with that woman in the water when they went round and they were interviewing all and sundry, Kay Burley and co.
Worst one. She's the worst.
But
Awful.
the point being is, what my brother's done, he has been drawn in, sucked in to watching TV news, which has made him very frightened of the world. Very frightened of the world. And, he'll sit and talk to me when I come in of a night time after I've been to a meeting or doing something, and he'll say, guess what? And it will be, because he's got autism as well, it's twice, everything is twice as bad.
Yeah.
And I keep saying to him, do not watch the news. I don't watch the news anymore because I, as I said to you, I like positive energy. I can't be dealing with negative energy.
You don't get it. You certainly don't get that in the morning on BBC Breakfast. I keep saying it time and time again. If you want to start off your day depressed, watch BBC Breakfast. It is the worst, most depressing thing I've ever seen. And it was never like that when it started way back in 1983 with Frank and Selena.
Well, do you know the problem is that, it's like if I turned on your show tomorrow and I saw somebody else presenting it, it wouldn't be the same. Consistency. That show, BBC Breakfast, it's someone different every day of the week.
Yeah.
And what it does, you can't warm to them. It's like when the Steve Allen show, harping back to that.
You warm to him.
When Steve Allen was off and someone else stood in for him, you were going like, gosh.
I gather the new bloke is just what's happened with the new bloke. Now, who told me this?
Is that Ian Dale or Ian someone?
I don't know. I mean, he's good. He's all right. But he's become that programme has now become the same as every other show on there.
It's a phone in now, all the way through.
News, politics, race, religion. That's it. That's it. There's no happy, what should we do today? Let's just have a conversation. How's your garden doing? No, it's none of that. None of that small talk anymore. And it's all become serious again. And Steve Allen was kind of the last one on there, wasn't he? To be kind of doing his thing rather than the format of the station. And that's probably
the only
what
one
did it.
I could possibly compare that's got that kind of jovial thing about him. Well, there's two actually. Probably Scott Mills.
Right.
And probably, who's the nutty one? Chris Moyles.
I must admit, I've never really listened to either of them two.
Both zany, both crazy, as in, woo! They're actually both really good.
Would you like to do that again for us, Dino? That's quite a nice little noise there.
Woo!
Dino,
yeah, it's nice talking to you again this evening.
Yes, you too. Lovely you to call in. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, talk soon.
See you, Dino. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
There we are, our lovely Dino. He runs a council here in the UK. Phone number once again is 020-8144-3477. Give us a call tonight if you want to. Rob says, if you want to be rewarded for litter picking, steal something from a supermarket and hey presto. Here is your community services high-vis jacket, Mr. Reardon. I've got one of those. I've actually got one of those, which I got. I bought from Halfords years ago to go on my bike when I was going on my bike on roads and things like that. Rob also says Joey Essex may be a good ice skater, but he still doesn't have common sense. I can think of a word to describe them, but it's not broadcastable. I can't believe you. There we are. Gary Ross says, bring back DW phone calls. Well, the phone line's open. If he chooses not to call in, that's up to him, People call him sometimes they don't. Good evening to Ryan Gordon. Evening, Ryan. Right, we're along to our little show there, and then we'll scroll to the bottom. I think, should we have another tune? Let's have another tune, boys and girls, here at Reach on Air. What shall I play you now? Let me have a little look here.
This city has a special morning voice. Speaks to me through an open window, masquerading as noise. 10 million people waking up, and somehow I'm the lucky guy who gets to make you a coffee cup. And if I ever forget what matters most, if I am giving up the ghost, remind me, babe, and I will do my best to recall. And if I stumble and fall, if I make a mess of it all, remind me, babe, and I will do my best to recall. This city can be hard and unforgiving. You better know who you are. You brought me back to the living. You were my guiding star. And if I ever forget what matters most, if I am giving up the ghost, remind me, babe, and I will do my best and I will do my best to recall.
Welcome back, boys and girls. Mark Jones says, agree on the consistency thing. That's why I try and stick to my shows. You mean at the same time every time? Yeah, I know what you mean, Mark, there. Natalie gets her support to help her cook and do tasks she struggles with. The agency are good now at sending the same person, but I've had to fight them at times because someone new does the call assignments and muck it up. I must admit, Joe, just a minute, Mark, can I just turn my volume down here? I'm echoing a bit to myself here. I can hear myself through speakers at the same time as I'm talking. To be honest, Mark, that message you've sent there doesn't mean a lot to people because they don't know what you're going on about there. You'd have to tell us more about your life because I don't think people know what you're talking about there, Mark. Is this something to do? I don't know what you're talking about there. Sorry, Mark, I can't get my head around that one. Maybe you can try again if you want to. You need to tell us what you're referring to there. I thought you were referring to your shows on Reach on Air. Rob Kershaw says, Nick Habit is the only reason I listen to LBC. Now, you see, I used to like him, Rob. But then Brexit came along and Trump. And he's never been the same since. He just goes on and on and on about the same old bleeding thing all the time, to the point where I don't listen at all anymore on the way home. As in ever. Doesn't get turned on. In actual fact, on the way home from work, usually now, I'll play a podcast of Dr. Carl, who is like a science question phone-in type thing on Triple J radio in Australia, so there we are. Okay, we've got another call coming in here. Let's do this. Who's on the line, please?
Not so bad, Chris. It's Mark J.
Oh, hello, Mark. I'm glad you've called in. Now, tell me what you're talking about here. Go on.
That's why I called you.
I'm so glad you called, because I'm looking at this message and I'm kind of trying to work it out, but I'm thinking if I can't work it out, then we don't know what the hell you're talking about. So do tell us.
Basically, what happens is Natalie gets assigned. Natalie's got support from social services, through social services, to help her with cooking, her daily tasks and things.
Is that due to a disability, is it?
Due to her being registered blind and also having additional needs.
No, you're telling me something I didn't even know. I didn't even know that.
She was trying to use dictation when she's messaging you. Doesn't always come out correctly, so if that is the case, just saying... you don't understand what she's saying.
No.
To get her to
I'm so glad
again.
you've told me that. I'm really pleased sometimes I know some people say, you shouldn't need to mention someone's disabilities, but sometimes it's necessary to explain something. Do you understand what I mean, my love?
Because something I've had to explain to a lot of people
Yes.
because she doesn't always understand. Oh, she's running through now, but no, she has support, and the support workers come in.
Right.
But they used to send different people all the time,
Yeah.
and now they're sending in the same person.
Hello, darling. All right.
She said, "All right." He's saying, "All right." So you don't have to go there.
Hey Chris, how
Hi,
are
Natalie.
you, darling?
I had never knew you were blind, darling.
I
Never
am
knew that.
blind.
May I
I'm
ask,
registered blind.
was that from birth or happened? Right.
No,
Okay.
registered blind from birth.
So you've never seen anything really,
No.
and you recognise things how?
I recognise things like don't know really, but I recognise things like voices and everything. Like your voice when you're on radio and everything, Dave Squires and everything.
Yes.
And I have problems when I'm going on Rich on Air. I
Right.
have problems reading
Okay.
the screen.
Is there some sort of
There's
enhancement?
voiceover.
Right.
There's voiceover, but I have problems like reading it, understanding voiceover.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah.
What's the problem understanding that then? Does it not always sound correct?
No. Yes.
Oh, I thought that would have come along a long way by now, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
well, I'm like Chris.
Okay.
Oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking to a presenter.
Well, I'm just a bloke sitting in a spare bedroom, to be honest. We're not in a
Chris?
studio or anything like that.
Chris,
Well, it is
I
my.
love you.
Huh?
I love you.
Well.
On
I
the
mean,
radio.
it is a studio, and it isn't really. You know, you couldn't really do anything else in here. It's a bit of a dive in here, to be honest.
It's lovely.
It is a dive in here. It is. You can only. I mean, the people who've got the site can only see a small part. If I can
Yes.
describe it to you, Natalie, there's me in the middle of the picture. And of
Yes,
course,
I
this
can
is the
see
same.
you.
This is the same for people just listening on Reach on Air. You know, they can't see me. So
yeah.
there's me sitting in the middle of the picture, right? There's a backdrop behind me, which at the moment
Yeah.
is a picture of a forest at the top. But
Yes, I can see the forest.
You can see it.
I can see close up to my face. I can't
Oh,
see
right, okay.
distance.
So you see the forest at the top, and then there's a waterfall below it going onto some
Yes.
rocks. And then there's a clock on the wall, great big clock, right?
Yeah.
And now this clock was actually made for people with a certain disability, and I can't remember, it might have been dementia.
Oh, wow.
It might have been dementia. I can't remember now, but I managed to get this clock cheap off eBay. Sometimes the date gets stuck because they're like flip over things, right? And the very fact they're mechanical and they're a few years old now, sometimes they get stuck. Then next to on the other side of my head is a mirror ball turning round
I
slowly.
can see that, yeah.
Behind
Shiny
me,
things.
behind me, on a sort of filing cabinet, which you can't see, there is a little on-air lit-up sign which Vera bought me for. It was either for my birthday or Christmas. On top of that is a little Lego set of London. There's the wheel. You know the big wheel?
Wicked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's the wheel. There's Big Ben. There's Tower Bridge.
Big Ben.
Yeah, Tower Bridge. Hang on,
I
let
love
me
Big
get
Ben.
it. Hang on a minute, let me get it. I hope I don't drop it. It'd be your fault if I drop it, Natalie. Right, there we go. So yeah, this is all a Lego thing. There's the wheel, you know, what you go on. Big Ben. There's St Paul's
No, what are you
Cathedral,
talking
Nelson's Column, and Tower Bridge, and a little boat going through there as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, which I made myself.
Like Mark just said, I have support cooking, cleaning, sorting the house out and everything else. So yeah, and I cook lovely stuff for Mark. So yeah, I'm cooking a casserole just now. I've been cooking a casserole today.
Oh, lovely. Is that in the oven?
Yeah. No, it's in the Ninja.
A casserole in the Ninja. Oh, I didn't know you could
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, you must have the inserts, though. Obviously, you wouldn't just put it in a metal thing,
I
would
think
you?
So it's like a big bowl.
Right. Okay.
It's not the air fryer.
Oh.
It's the all-in-one.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I think my sister's got one now.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure she's
Anyway,
got
Chris.
one.
Anyway, Chris, darling, I'll pass you on to Mark.
All right, darling. See you later.
Bye, darling.
Bye,
Bye.
Natalie. I was just going to tell Natalie. Actually, I was just going to tell her that she's screaming there. I'm just going to tell her that I've got this. I got an air fryer from my sister for Christmas, and I had the oven on Christmas. And once I got the air fryer out of its box, the oven hasn't been on since.
They're really good, the Ninjas.
Absolutely.
We had an oven, we had a George Foreman grill, we had a slow cooker, we had a steamer, the stacking steamer.
Yes,
we got rid of most of those. We've still got the oven because the oven's built into the kitchen, but we got rid of everything else around it. We've just literally got this Ninja now.
I've got a George Foreman as well up at the caravan, which I've had almost ever since I got the caravan, and it's fantastic because when I come back from the swimming pool, right, I can load into this George Foreman thing a couple of items, maybe some sausages or something like that, right? And then when I get to the end of this road, I know this road I'm on for 10 minutes, right? And I have it on a smart plug, and I can turn on the George Foreman grill and the microwave and the kettle from the top of the road 10 minutes away, and then I get to the caravan and everything's ready. You can't do that with an air fryer. I mean, you've got to physically touch the button. Although there's those little robot button things you can get now, can't you?
Yes, that's right. Chris.
Have you seen those? But I'll be honest, I don't think I'd like an air fryer on if I wasn't near it.
No, I don't tend to like leaving the Ninja on. Like,
It's a bit plastic, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Well, this is a solid thing. The Ninja Foodie is a solid thing. It's got a metal bowl inside it, and then the structure it's in is solid.
Right.
But
I wouldn't.
My mum and dad have brought me up to sort of be cautious of leaving things unattended for too long.
Mark, it's like the tumble dryer. I won't leave that on its own.
Oh, we did that. We had the fire in Sheffield. We had the fire brigade called out when Natalie lived in Sheffield.
Oh my God!
The fire brigade called out because we'd left it on for 10 minutes. I walked up to the shops at the top of the street, walked back down again, and there was smoke filling her little bedsit.
Oh my God!
And they had a care home above that had to be evacuated. We had to be evacuated, or to wait for the people to come out, the fire brigade to come out and make sure it was safe to go back in.
Was it fluff caught light?
No, it was just because it was an old tumble dryer.
Wow.
And it wasn't one of the ones that you close the lid. It was one that it just was on a hinge, so it was like a flap one, and it would just slam closed.
Wow.
With the strength of the hinge, and just how old it was, it just started smoking one day. But we didn't realise. We thought we'd be okay going out for 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
And
that's frightening. You see, I just won't leave a tumble dryer. I'll leave a washing machine alone. And they tell you not to leave any of these things on when you go out. Washing machine, dishwasher, tumble dryer. I do leave the dishwasher on when I'm not in. I do leave the washing machine on when I'm not in. Not the tumble dryer. No, and not the deep air fryer.
Have you seen the heated airers? The
what?
The heated air, they have it like JML do on the dry buddy.
I've seen those, yeah. Quite cheap to run, aren't they? Very cheap to run.
They're very cheap to run. They're very effective as well.
Yeah.
At drying them, we've got one because when they first brought them out, the electric drying racks weren't that good. They were a bit naff, but this one's fantastic.
Why would I naff?
Just wouldn't dry. It would dry like the bit you hang over the heated element would dry, but the other bits wouldn't dry. Right. Whereas these we've got the pod one, it dries the whole thing. Yes, it might leave a little bit where you've hung it where it's still a bit damp, but a quick blast of it with a hairdryer, as Natalie does often, will just dry it completely.
You haven't got one of those Dyson air dryers, are you? 500 quid.
No.
500 quid for a bleeding air dryer. I mean, I started looking at one. The bloke in Curry's came over and said, "Don't be silly, sir," and put it down. I can't think why, my love. You know.
I just can't understand why you'd spend that much money on a hairdryer anyway.
Well, they're just crazy
you can
people,
get
aren't
some
they?
pretty decent cheap ones.
Crazy
reasonable
people.
ones.
You got any holidays booked this year? Because I've just booked one. My calendar's so full now, Mark. It's getting fuller and fuller by the day, I tell you. I'll run through it if we've
Funny
got
enough,
time.
Ross was asking this on his show about what we've got planned. We haven't actually got anything major planned because it's very difficult for us to sort of make a plan and stick to it.
Why?
Because things, we could say, oh, we're going. We planned to go to Spain, but then COVID struck, and we've been put off from going because we were just like, we're not.
Yeah, but that's kind of past now, and that's a once in a lifetime thing, isn't it? Or maybe twice.
It's true, but it's sort of like we just take things as each month and each week as it comes.
Okay.
Because I'm also becoming the president of the Rotary Club that I'm part of. So
the what?
The Rotary Club.
Well, what's that then?
So Rotary is an organisation of people who have been working, or in my case, not working, but who want to give back to the community.
I thought it was something. I thought it was something to do with sewing for some reason.
No,
or knitting.
Like
Tom Daly does knitting.
That's the WI. WI is all about sewing and knitting.
Right.
No, Rotary is a professional organisation that's for people that are in the community. Natalie's laughing away at what you.
Why is she laughing?
She just found it hysterical.
Yeah, she was. Pick up a couple of knitting needles and get on with something, my dear.
She wouldn't. She'd
Tom Daly will help you. He'll pop round in his tiny little swimming trunks.
But no, Rotary is a thing that is like an organisation that basically helps people to give back to the community.
Right.
Oh no, you're.
No, Chris.
Aye.
She's back to say she can't sew. She came back in to say she can't sew, and now she's gone again.
I'm wondering if the reach on their message system is working tonight, because I haven't received a single message on there for some reason. Oh, Weird City, here. Can we Weird City wants to know something from Natalie, please. Right?
Okay.
It's a serious question. Please ask Natalie, do you dream, and what does she dream of?
Do you dream, and what do you dream of? Is a question somebody's asked you.
Florence.
Yeah, you do have dreams because you
Florence.
do dream. Yeah, we went to see Florence and the Machine in concert, so I think that's what she's been dreaming about all the time lately.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was the first big concert she's been to in Manchester.
Yes.
And so that's the thing that she's obviously got in her mind.
I think what he's saying there is we obviously dream and we see pictures in our dream, don't we?
Yes.
So how does someone who can't see properly dream? Do you see pictures in your dream? I
think the way somebody described it to me once is that you sort of imagine what something would look like.
Right.
So you
dear, she's got COVID! Coronavirus! Masks on, everyone! Masks on! I don't know, put straight over my mouth now. Carry on.
He's got
Coronavirus!
He's got coronavirus, apparently.
I have not got corona.
No, it's just a tickly cough. No, you just imagine somebody who's blind or who's got little sight.
Yes.
Might be able to imagine what something is or imagine the scene. So if you were describing, say that's why they have audio description now in a lot of TV shows.
Right.
It describes the scene, so somebody can picture in their mind what they're looking at without having their eyes open.
Okay.
So if something is described to them, say you were describing a picture to somebody who's totally blind,
yes,
they still can picture that in their mind. They can still say, well, okay, I can roughly figure out that that's. So you're looking at the Mona Lisa. You've described the Mona Lisa.
Miserable cow. Gee, she's a miserable cow. That Mona Lisa, my love.
You know, she's wearing a black dress. She's got black hair. She's looking straight at you. Somebody who's blind would be able to picture that, visualize that, and would know what you would, because they can feel their own features. They might think, oh, she looks a bit like me then.
Right.
You know, they might just picture a face with black hair and a black dress.
I've got a Labrador as well called Sydney.
Yeah, yes. your guide dog,
My guide dog.
who's sadly retired.
Oh, is he? So have you not got him anymore then?
No, we've still got him. He stayed on as a pet because guide dogs let us keep him.
Okay. Do you have a new one?
No.
No,
Oh.
the rules for guide dogs changed and they've made it more difficult. So for a guide dog owner to take their guide dog out, it's 40 minutes every single day. Now we live in Abergele is a small town. You can practically get around town in about 20-ish minutes.
Right.
So a 40 minutes
Go round twice.
is. But then it's the same thing all over and over again. There's nothing
Wow.
different about
Exercise
it.
is very important, Mark. You can't just be sitting there all day on computer games, dear.
Oh no, we don't.
Here,
We-
look, we've got another question. What's going on now? Is that the dog or her?
She's excited because she's excited.
Yeah, there's another question here. Ready?
Okay.
Why do you think Braille is not used on very many everyday items? It's hardly on anything.
The reason why is a lot of blind people can't necessarily learn Braille. There aren't enough teachers of Braille
Right.
in the country to teach all of the people who are blind Braille.
I understand.
There is one teacher in maybe the whole of an area. So I think there's maybe one or two teachers for the whole of Wales.
Right.
And it's quite a big...
I also... Doesn't Braille takes up quite a lot of space, doesn't it? I tell you how I know that one. There was a lady who came to sing with us. She usually does the Saturday night, but she turns up on Sunday. Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't know she couldn't see. And then she produced these hymn books. I said, what's that? She said, oh, it's my hymn book. It's Braille. And this one hymn book was like 4 or 5 books, much larger than my one book.
They're the size of a dictionary.
Yes, it was these 5 separate books were my one book. And I was amazed at how much space Braille takes up. You know, it's not
Even the new Universal Braille isn't. It's condensed down.
Yeah. Okay.
They call it UEB, but it still takes up a lot of space.
I've done Moon.
You learnt Moon, but that's not widely as known. But
What's
Braille
that called?
Moon. It's another type of language.
Oh, is it?
It's basically a shape. Instead of dots, it's a shape.
I'm with you.
So that was taught at college, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Moon isn't really used outside of schools, colleges, things like that. Braille is more used.
Interesting.
But it just wasn't really
Yeah,
taught.
I'm with you.
If you've got a learning disability
Right.
like Natalie has.
Mark, I'm going to have to go
difficult.
here because I'm running right out of time, mate. All right?
Okay, Chris.
Thanks for
Lovely talking
calling
to you.
in. See you, Mark.
Can I head you on?
There we are. We're almost out of time this evening, boys and girls. Thanks ever so much for joining in. I'll leave you with a track and I'll see you again tomorrow morning here at Reach On Air just after the 9 o'clock news, all right?
Yes, I was an easy one to fool. Blue-eyed and blonde, just a regular tool. But some things you just don't realize. Even though they're happening right in front of your eyes, I'm not even sure just what went wrong. All I know, I've stayed here for too long.
Perfect timing. 1 minute. Alexa, stop. There you go. That's it today. Thank you very much, boys and girls. Just some of your final messages there. The radio has now left us. That's all right, Mark. A great pleasure that you should talk on the phone like that. That's fantastic. Call up every week. Of course you can. Of course you can. If there's a gap, call in. You know how it works. If there's someone on the phone, you won't get answered until that person's gone. All right? And thank you very much, Natalie, as well, for calling in tonight. That was great. And, of course, Vera, who's enjoyed the show. Thank you, Vera. All right, those of you on TikTok and on YouTube, let's say goodbye to... Is there anyone left on there now? A lot of people disappear at that point. Let's have a look. Oh, it's someone on Facebook still. I wonder who that is. Oh, Michael Pullman's there. Hello, Michael. Sorry, I didn't see you there. And Janice. I didn't know you were there, Janice. Sometimes people, they just like to sit there quietly and watch. So thanks for joining us tonight. And thank you for coming up and saying goodbye as well. It's nice to see sometimes who was there, actually. All right, I think we're done there, aren't we? All right, I'll be back tomorrow morning, Reach on Air. Hang on a minute. Where's my little poster? It is somewhere. There it is. TikTokers, I'll see you tomorrow, right? Thanks for TikToking. Ta-da. There we go. Oh, no, actually, I want to hold that open for a moment because we need to block someone who was abusive this evening. There we go. So that's where the radio station is tomorrow, okay? And I'll see you there just after 9 o'clock. Cheerio now.